Right channel of light fluid. It's time to return to distant travels. And today, we have some laser tag on the way. Let's get to it. You wake up just before your alarm rings. You feel rested, but there's a weird feeling. You can't shake the feeling that things have been moving faster and faster the recent days. Maybe it's because you know you're going on kind of an adventure. It's like the build-up to an explosion. Faster, faster and faster. Good thing it's a bit of a break today. Got to remember to breathe sometimes. I wonder what it'll be like. And I wonder which part of my recommendation they went for. No way to know but to go forth, right? You get out of bed and get ready for the day. Just as you're having breakfast with Nick at the cafe where Commander Steele first interviewed you, your phone rings. It's Julia. Good morning, Julia. Good morning, Axel. How's it going? Is Team Jules Rules winning? Not that it's a competition. Yes, I know you got the job. There's no way they'd interview you for so long otherwise. Right? Always the enthusiast. Looks like we'll be coming back home for a bit before going away for real. It's going to be a long time, Jules. I'm so excited. And you have something amazing on your resume for when you get back. By the way, Axel, you always make it sound like I won't call you every so often and check on things. Always the caretaker as well. You know you technically won't be my boss for a while. You're not getting away that easy. I'm not sure I'll be able to bring my phone with me. You should ask. I want to hear everything. Especially how you're doing. How are you feeling now that you know you're the best there is? The best there is? You just got a really high-profile job, Axel. I knew you'd get it. Being on Team Jules Rules and all. Yeah, I guess we won then, didn't we? I'm feeling good. I'm actually getting excited for this. If I can tell you a little more when I'm back home, should be tomorrow by the look of things. I can't wait. I'll see you then, Axel. Take care. And bye, Julia. That's an interesting question. There's no way where my phone will work in space. Right? You make a note to ask. It can word in a good way so as not to seem weird for asking. Wouldn't it be cool if... Confidence is a weird thing. The two of you finish up breakfast and make your way to the hotel lobby. Nick doesn't say much, which is uncharacteristic for him. But you know better than to pry if he doesn't want to talk. You catch up on emails and the news on your phone as you wait. There's no interesting news. A lot of work, however. They must be swamped back home. Home. You don't really ever think that much about home. But it is there. Maybe that's just what home is. As usual, you spot them instantly across the hotel lobby. Who wouldn't, with how different they are? It's John and Max this time. They walk across the lobby, making sure not to keep some space away from most everyone. Maybe it speaks to the Scramblers? Good morning, you two. Hey, you guys ready for today? Good morning. Looking forward to it. Good morning. Plenty of rest and ready for the day. Sounds like it'll be a lot of fun. Well, as we all get to know you. He smiles a broad smile as he says that. Where to? Oh, we walked here. There's a car on the way. We're going to a museum first. You can't help but laugh a little. Makes a lot of sense, actually. You want to check out Earth history, then? I like it. Museums are fun. Right. After that, we'll have lunch somewhere and continue towards an arcade. Well, it's all booked. Have you played a lot of laser tag, Axel? I wouldn't say so. I'm pretty decent. I'll be on your team then. Can't wait to shoot this big lug. As he says that, he elbows John. The big badger doesn't even seem to notice. "And now we're on to dinner. I found a place out by a lake. Also be a bartender serving drinks. There's the option to stay there overnight, so bring your toothbrush if you want to stay there. There's also the option to go back here, so don't stress it. I'll grab it just in case then." Me too. I'll be right back." You let them know and quickly return to your room and grab your toothbrush, some toothpaste, and an extra pair of underwear. Within a few minutes, your two new colleagues guide you out to the hotel into yet another limousine. The car ride is quite pleasant. You feel like you're definitely stuck in the middle of the opposites. John seems calm as can be. On the other hand, Max is so energetic he can make commercials for energy drinks. After a few minutes, the car stops outside the National Museum. Max leads the way, then heads off to pick up your tickets. You find the rest of the members of the Firefly waiting there for you. Good morning. Good morning, Axel. Ready for the day? Good morning. Looking forward to it. Good morning. Good morning, Nick. Hello there, Nick. You really planned a full day. The idea is to go all out and to get to know you better. As well as saying a proper goodbye to this place. As you finish talking, Max has finished sorting the tickets and the six of you get ready to enter together. Nick still seems awkward and silent, but you chose not to mention anything. He'll open up eventually. And today is a day to relax, right? Max motions you to follow him and you two go ahead of the group. He puts his hand behind his head in what looks to be almost a nervous move. I think most people have different things they want to check out here. For their own reasons. As you look towards the rest of the group, Mike and Charles seem to be discussing something on the side. Nick seems to be listening to them. John is on his way over to you and Max. That seems like it. Might be a tour or so. We're probably more interested in just spending time with you all, to be honest. Would you like to tour the museum together with me? If that would be alright with you. That's not a bad idea. It'd be nice to get to know everyone some more. Before, you hear a deep voice behind you. Before leaving the world and travelling beyond the stars. I'm glad you're not opposed to the idea. Now then. I promised Max I'd go with him and you at the museum if you're alright with it. You can't help but shake your head and smile at that. Morning person, Max. I think I can handle you today. No scrambler this time. Max laughs at that. That's true. John raises an eyebrow questioningly. I feel like I've missed something interesting. There was this thing with the scrambler you guys have. First time I saw Max, I think I kind of saw through it. I knew it wasn't what he appeared as, but my mind could not quite place it. It was different. Well, that sounds interesting. You seem fine with it now. Makes sense why I was asked to turn off my scrambler before we met. Do you ever worry you won't remember to turn it on before going out in the streets? Well, I'd say I have it on more often than not. It's rare that I ever turn it off. Ditto. Ditto, eh? The question strikes you. Have you watched any movies from Earth, Max? I have. Find a good way to learn. Plus humans make some great movies. You might have picked up some slang there, bud. Max stares John dead in the eyes and drops his arm to his sides. Moot. John breaks out into a laugh. Cute. At least I didn't say bitchin'. A bitchin', huh? That's a bitchin' word. John and Max look at each other in silence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. John lets out a soft chuckle. Alright, I can't hold it. Not a word I ever think to use as such. Despite silliness of it, Earth truly is a place with broad horizons. As you speak, Charles, Mike and Nick approach your little group. Are you alright, Nick? You seem more quiet than usual. I'm alright, just a little tired. Seems they've also noticed how quiet Nick is.
Hi, Osri. Sorry for the sudden distraction. There's an unexpected phone call I need to make.
He looks disappointed as he speaks.
I'll catch up to you if I can.
I'll give you company, Mike. I'll come with you, Doc, if that's alright. Charles looks a little surprised.
Oh, of course.
The three excuse themselves and walk off.
Shall we?
Yeah, let's start this way. Max leads you to a temporary dinosaur exhibit. John falls in line next to you, right behind him. You end up right in front of a large replica of a T-Rex skeleton. John looks at the plaque that contains a short description of the exhibit. Max looks over his shoulder. Something like this in Arctos history.
Oh, it seems like it has a longer history in Arctos.
That's surprising. Arctos seems so technologically advanced.
What I've learned about Earth, you're not wrong. But relatively, our history is short, a few thousand years. There was most likely a mass extinction event at some point. There's no fossils or similar things like this.
Max seems unusually quiet. You look over and he seems to be in deep thought. Both you and John stay quiet for a second until Max speaks up. Yeah, that's why I wanted to join the forces in a way. You haven't known Max for long, but you're not sure you expected him to open up like this. Always seems so lofty, rushed. John just smiles and listens. He decides it's probably best to just do the same. Do you know what's out there? Maybe find out where we're from. Like Earth. There's no way things are this similar as a coincidence, right? It's pretty wild.
Well, that's a really good wish.
Not very unique.
Doesn't have to be, does it?
Both have pretty wild dreams. I just kind of slipped out. Both Max and John look at you. Go hard to go home. Or go hard to go home.
Well, these pictures remind you of dragons in a way, Max.
You point to the depictions of a T-Rex on its little information plaque. His idea is this is where the legends of dragons on Earth comes from. At the same time, when I think about it, legends predate the technology used for all the pieces together, so to say. Maybe dragons were on Earth at one point? I mean, there's bears and badgers here. The obvious question strikes you. It feels weird to ask. But once again, how do you ever know if you don't ask? How does that work on Arctos?
You're asking if there's non-sapient animals. Well, there are. There's also a large following of vegetarians because of it.
Is your face that easy to read?
However, most people don't think about it. There's a large genetic difference. A badger like me is not a badger in any way except appearance.
Yes, you were. No non-sapient dragons, though. Either you're easy to read or they got mind-reading tech. Glitter, rainbow sparkles, banana spaghetti explosions. Nope, no mind-reading tech.
Your mind is a weird place, sometimes.
And no dinosaurs.
Oh, nope.
The three of you continue through the exhibit, stopping to look closer at most things. Max leads the way, he seems to be the most excited. John seems to be enjoying his time, reading the short bits of information about the pieces you see. You finish up the dinosaur exhibit and move on to the general art exhibit. John seems a little more interested now. On the other hand, Max seems to take the step back. You stop by a large painting, depicting a field in the morning sun.
Well, this reminds me of where I grew up.
Looks peaceful, doesn't it? It does. Reminds me of a countryside farm. He chuckles.
And this is where I'd sneak away from my chores and nap. There's no mystery I end up in engineering.
Because you like to sneak away and take naps?
Because I wanted to automate things I didn't have to sneak away to take naps.
Don't you end up sneaking away anyway?
Well, in reality, there's always more work. John sighs softly. You just keep lifting all the weights in front of you. Someone will always add more to your pile. So when you find time to take a break, do it.
Max has an overly theatrical yawn. Napping wins.
John lets out a low chuckle. There's more to it than that, you know.
Axel doesn't know that yet. He's not wrong.
Well, we take a break and do some questions then. You can ask me 2 questions and I'll ask you 1.
Max looks on eagerly.
But first, you go, Max. Same rules.
I get to ask Axel a question, he gets to ask me 2. I get it. That makes it even. I'll start then. He thinks for a few seconds. Okay, Axel. Do you have a dream or a goal in life? Always any time for asking the big questions, it seems.
John says it for you. Right into the big questions. How do I get to know someone?
He smiles. You ponder for a second how to answer. Then again, the same subject was breached earlier this week. I want to change the world somehow. Make a lasting impression. Do you think that influences your hobbies and your free time? That's 2 questions.
But it's not like you mind.
Besides, the other thing is set up to get to know you more about each other. You think of it a little bit before answering. Probably influences what kind of movies or books I'd read. Dreams like that mostly exist in fiction. And that kind of fiction is probably more common in, for example, computer games. So it probably influences it somehow, but it doesn't dictate it. What do you do in your free time? Well, I used to work out a little. I just kind of lost it somewhere along the way. It probably has to do with... You stop yourself. You're not about to tell them some sob story about your ex. That would make them pity you, and that's not what any of this is about. You'll have to use a question for that.
John chuckles again.
Alright, your turn. Once again, you take a second to think. How about something light-hearted that tells you a little about his personality? What's your favourite type of movie of the ones you've seen from Earth? Max responds quickly to this one. First thought is drama or comedy. I'll probably go with documentaries. You can see why. Max seems to hunger for information, to just learn about everything. That makes sense. How so? You're always so eager to learn. It's actually quite refreshing. And at times, tiring. But you're not going to tell him that. About the next question. On a day off, what do you usually do? I usually work out and watch movies or read books. Or see if anyone else is around and up to something. He seems to contemplate something for a second. He's a bit of a follower like that. Seems like it was a great idea. Simple questions can have pretty interesting answers, it turns out. Max wastes no time. Your turn to ask John. If I got it correct earlier, you grew up at the countryside. How did you end up on the Firefly?
John puts his hand up and scratches the back of his head. I guess in a way I followed a friend. It's a long story, but I'll try to summarise it a little. Decided to study engineering, so I moved to the city to study further when I was old enough.
He looks like he's reminiscing.
I met a lot of people. There's some real contrast to what I was used to. Made a lot of close friends and even found a boyfriend.
Boyfriend? How casually he says it must mean it's not a big deal for him. It should only be the same for everyone. Not a big deal, just how things are. No anxiety about it. There really never should be. But that's not how the world works. At least not Earth. Not yet, at least. You notice how John and Max are looking at you. They notice you spacing out. Sorry. John doesn't mention it. Instead, he continues.
That ended up breaking my heart. Looking back, it wasn't real love, it sure felt like it at the time. So, when he left me, I ended up feeling like I was the loneliest person in the world. What was left for me once all was said and done was 2 close friends. He once again scratches the back of his head. You take it as a sign to change the subject. Oh, thanks for telling me. You think for a bit about what to ask next. What's the best spot for a nap on the Firefly? Both John and Max freeze for a second. Oh, I'll show you. It'll cost you. Cost me what exactly? You'll have to tell me about your best spot to take a nap when you find it. Fair deal and all. He lets out a quiet chuckle and smiles at you. What's your question for him, John? For a second you worry he's going to continue where Max's questions ended. But he doesn't. Instead he scratches his chin for a second like he's thinking. You want a philosophical question or a light-hearted one? He looks at Max for a second. That does not count as the question, by the way. How about a philosophical question? Do you think you deserve to be where you are? It could be either a very harsh or a very deep question. Does he really think I don't deserve to be here? He's not wrong. His entire mission is quite the endeavour. There's definitely someone out there who would do better. How do you mean? He seems to sense your apprehension of the question. Well, in life, successful, unsuccessful, happy or sad does not matter. Do you think you deserve to be where you are, for better or worse? It's a philosophical question I tend to ask myself at times. Do you believe in fate? Do we make our own future? I don't know if anyone can judge that for themselves. Things happen that we can't control. Is that our fault? Does that change where we are, or are we actually in control? So all we can do is make a guess. Do we deserve to be where we are? He's not judging you, just getting to know you. That's a relief. Always worry until too much about not being good enough by the look of things. Right, the question. That's quite deep. Fuck it. Being honest and taking the leap has worked out so far this week. Might as well run with it until it backfires. It's too late for regrets. I think I deserve it. John looks a little surprised, but not disappointed. If I don't think I might be worth it. He frowns a little at that. You don't think you're worth it, even if you deserve it. I have my doubts about being the best fit. There's to be someone better around with the same genetics, right? I was thinking that whatever happened to get me here, voluntarily or not, has come from my actions or experiences. Luck might exist, but if so, we deserve it. Would it happen if not? Well, that's a good answer. And for the record, I think you deserve it too. Well, I think you're worth a chance. Thanks. Your thanks doesn't sound very convincing. You won't say that you haven't done anything yet. But John really seems sincere. Perhaps you could just accept it this time. In fact, they seem to think you're worth it for whatever reason. At the same time, I want to know. Might as well run with it. Can I ask another question about that? John doesn't say anything, but nods at you and listens. I don't think I deserve it, or that I'm worth a chance. I've not really done anything at all. I'm definitely not anyone special. I wouldn't say you're not anyone special. And you've done something. You mentioned something about why you deserve to be here. Regardless of what happens that you got here, in some way, you're the one who made it happen. Or, if it is just straight-up dumb luck, I'd say just take it if you want to. A chance is there. That could be said for the reverse as well, couldn't it? Do you believe people with bad luck deserve the bad luck? Does anyone deserve bad luck? No, not always. Sometimes bad things happen to good people, and good things happen to bad people. It's subjective, but I believe that when bad things happen to people who don't deserve it, it's our responsibility to try and change that. Make the world a better place. The world is not fair. So when good things happen to you, don't feel bad about it. Just remember to pass it on if you get the chance. Thanks. You say it because you truly mean it this time. John smiles. Touching on themes of existentialism and determinism. Interesting subject. I'd love to talk more about it with you sometime. You remember one of the philosophy lectures from when you were still in school? Existentialism. The idea that you're born without any particular purpose and it's up to you to make or find a purpose. Looking forward to it. John smiles. You look around and notice that during your conversation Max had already gone ahead. There's a few art pieces ahead of you. He notices you've finished talking and starts walking back towards you and John. The three of you continue the tour. Eventually, Charles, Mike and Nick catch up to you and you finish the tour together. Charles has some input on the art, not completely unexpected. Nick seems quiet still, but a bit more relaxed. You take a little break and decide to walk together to a nearby restaurant for lunch rather than calling for a car. Eventually you arrive at a cosy-looking restaurant. You all take a seat around the table. You end up sitting between Charles and Max. While Max seems being enthralled by the concept of dinosaurs, speaking most of the others and asking their opinions, Charles takes a slower approach to things. He turns to you for conversation. Oh, I missed most of it. It makes me a little curious about what you thought of the exhibits at the museum. Any favourite parts? While there's some interesting pieces, you've never really been that into art. There's some interesting parts. I think that personally the best part was getting to know John and Max a little better. Having said out loud, that sounds far too sappy. I should say something so he doesn't think I'm just sappy. That sounds pretty sappy now I think of it. Well, that's not a bad thing. We're all going away on a journey. And it'll be a while before we get back. That's why people celebrate off an event before starting a new project or a new job. Kind of as a goodbye to what has been and as a greeting of what's to come next. It's also the substance of a memory. The substance. A friend of mine has a quote I like. It's about the perception of time. Charles looks over to Mike who seems to be listening patiently to something Max is explaining. He winks at the two of you. It might be better leave that for tonight and have him explain it himself. It's one of those lines he's quite proud of. I guess it's mostly a philosophical view. I look forward to that. That leads the conversation to philosophy for you, and you can't help but wonder. What's your favourite philosophical question? Charles actually lets out a chuckle as you ask him. Your question reminds me of something I read here on Earth. What differs humans from animals? Aristotle argued this. What makes humans different from animals is the ability to argue. If you're trapped in a cage with a human, you might try to reason and argue to cooperate. While an animal will do all it needs for its own survival, be it eat you or not. As such, it is reason or the ability to argue and see or understand reason. I might have misquoted or misunderstood, but it's fascinating. If you only knew. Charles lets out another soft chuckle. Charles thinks for a second, then answers. I enjoy mixing scientific ideas with philosophical questions. He has a look on his face which is as if sorting through ideas, deciding which one to pick. He then seems to settle on one. I told you about quantum entanglement earlier. You think back to the lecture about entanglement Charles held for you. In essence, two objects are linked and doing something to one can influence the other. I remember. Entangled objects are connected so the actions performed on one affect the other, even when separated by great distances. He looks at you and lets out a smirk that betrays how happy he is. He seems happy at the fact he taught you something. Oh, well put. My favourite philosophical question topic would be mixing something like quantum entanglement with personal feelings or ideas. It reminds me of something you thought about after Commander Steele had told you about entanglement. Something like, can feelings or souls be entangled? You once again looks a little surprised. That's a great example. It's a romantic idea as well.
It means there's a soulmate out there, in a way. It does lead to that question, doesn't it? If there is a soulmate, does it mean that soulmate is the one true love? What if we're entangled to a friend? If you and I were entangled, would I be your friend or your lover? Isn't that kind of a soulmate as well? Different kinds of love. Oh, I like the idea. It's also the idea of how to entangle feelings. If our actions entangle our relationships, friendships or lovers, even enemies, then we're all entangled in different ways. Entanglement might just differ in intensity. Perhaps. But at that point I think it's not the same kind of entanglement anymore. I like the idea of layers of it. That could be your soulmate or your best friend. And it could be because we're entangled. Or there could be a wide web of entanglement that started as soon as we got to know each other. I guess it depends on how one would view it. So either we're all entangled in different ways and our interactions and ideas change that. And it changes us as well. Or the entanglement would mean that it is that one person you're entangled with. If that's your best friend, or your lover, I think it's quite the calming idea. Either a best friend or a lover being out there. And if you want to meet them, wouldn't the entanglement make it so they want to meet you as well? I'd hope to be entangled with someone. You could swear you saw him blushing for just a second, as if you realised the innuendo of what he just said. Quite the romantic, Charles. Not the only one by the look of it. He smiles at you. There's a few more ways one could bend the argument. As if we were entangled, would we like the same person instead? But that's not as much as a fun thing to consider. I agree, I prefer the first idea. We are but people, so we might as well go with the fun parts when we get the chance. I can't but wonder if the entanglement of souls is real. How would one end up with the wrong person? The tiger is listening closely to you as you speak. Like a bad ex. We are still but people, and even if entanglement is real, there's no saying feelings can be entangled in just one way. He looks you in the eye. I take it you have a story to tell in that regard. As if he's read through you completely. You sigh. I might as well roll with it, right? Time to open the gates once again. You tell him about your ex. About how it started great, but it was never real for him. And how in retrospect he stopped you from moving forward. Like how he discouraged you from finishing the studies for your networking certifications. Or how he talked bad about the few friends you had, and you tear a rift in your relationship with them. Of course, you weren't so blunt in your words when describing it. He even called you out for being apologetic at times. We don't choose our weaknesses, and we don't get to pick what mistakes we make. You can just do your best to move forward afterwards. And the best cure to a broken or beaten heart is a stiff drink and good conversation. Hopefully you'll be able to get a dose of both tonight. He leans in close and whispers in your ear. Trust me on that one. I'm a doctor. You can't help but laugh at that. It's a fun day so far. I wonder how the laser tag and evening will play out. It's almost like it's all set up to give me a chance to spend some time with each of you and all at once. Well, that's the idea. Use the day to make a memory. It is a change of seasons, so to say. You finish up lunch and chat for a bit while digesting the food. After you're all relaxed, Charles ends up calling for a car to take you to the arcade. There's less talking as everyone's digesting the food, but the timing works out. So you get to the arcade, everyone seems to be lively as ever. Before long, you're all getting suited up to play laser tag. You can't ever think it feels a little surreal. I'm right here, about to play laser tag with, well, people who aren't human. They all look excited, although slightly lost. Nick approaches you. Do you think they've ever done anything like this? I don't think so. They're about to get demolished then. The bear and the dragon approach the two of you. This reminds me of gun practice. Although hopefully a lot less serious. It's supposed to be very light-hearted. You'll definitely feel deadly serious, despite the fun. The bear smiles. Besides, even if it was a while since I last played, you guys don't stand a chance. Yeah, I regret saying that.
Mike laughs at that. Am I to expect no mercy then?
Max aims his rifle at the commander and fires. Nick lets out a laugh. He never saw it coming. It wasn't even started yet. I was making sure to get an early advantage. Is that a challenge?
Never should have let my guard down, eh? And then you've one who'd shoot a friend in the back, Max.
Friendships don't matter in the game. You get a silly idea. It's silly, but... You could aim your rifle and shoot the commander flat in the chest as well. And twice shot, thrice shy? Once bitten, twice shy. I doubt the commander will have that problem. The bear gets a contemplating look on his face. And then a twinkle in his eye.
Don't expect me to go easy on any of you.
Ominous. John and Charles seem to be discussing something as well. They occasionally glance over to you, Nick, Max and the commander. You kind of think it's almost as if they're plotting something. John waves you and Nick over. The commander seems to notice but doesn't say anything. He gives you a pat on the shoulder and starts asking the game organizer a few questions as you make your way over to John and Charles.
Psst, Nick, Axel. We need to team up.
Isn't it supposed to be a fair match?
That's why we need to team up.
I'm pretty confident here. John sighs.
Is anything like shooting a regular rifle? We don't stand a chance after Max and you riled him up.
One of Max's hobbies is target practice. He does it once or twice a week. Bear that up with having practiced for years. Yeah, I'd usually say play fair. But in this case, teaming up is the only way to have a fair chance. He seems serious.
It's all in good spirits, of course. I'm fairly sure he's expecting us to team up already.
You're kidding. Oh, he definitely knows. Charles nods towards the commander. As your eyes land on him, you notice he's looking at you. He then proceeds to put the laser tag rifle up to his eye like he's taking aim. He definitely knows. And what about Max?
There's no way he'd team up with us. No one ever wants it to be a fair fight, even if there's no chance of winning.
I'm going with Max on this one. Nick leaves, dismissing the pair.
You have to team up with us, but give us a better chance. What do you say?
Thinking about it, the commander definitely seems ready if you were to team up against him. But what about fair play? Is winning important? What would be the most fun? I'm pretty sure Mike is going to win either way. Let's just say play fair for now. They're definitely overestimating him. And underestimating me. It'd be more if we ended up bullying the commander. I think I'm going to go on my own. Charles chuckles softly. We probably seem like we're plotting something here. Let us know if you'd rather team up in the next round.
Good luck, Axel.
Hey, you too. They turn to each other.
Alright, how are we doing this?
The two of them keep discussing tactics as you leave them. With that, you proceed into the game area. The game organizer sorts you all out and you're spread out throughout the room. The lights are turned off and you find yourselves in a dark maze filled with smoke. There are neon lights outlining the walls. Take a deep breath as you hear the countdown. 3, 2, 1. The music starts, you start hearing the sound effects from shots being taken. You start by sneaking around the outside wall. Listen to the sound of the shooting, you should find out where your opponents are. It does not take long. After a few seconds you hear the sound of someone absolutely raining down shots towards an area. You silently make your way towards the area and peek your head around a corner. You notice Charles hiding behind a wall, only looking up to take shots. You look around carefully and notice John also shooting in the same direction. You aim your rifle carefully and take the shot. One down. Charles dodges behind a wall out of your line of sight. You can't quite make out what they're shooting at, but it has to be the commander. Now, you could sneak around and get him from behind. And then you could take Charles out afterwards. You eventually reach a good spot and peek around the corner. He's not there. You notice Charles seems to have stopped shooting. Silence falls. Just a second, all you can hear is the music playing. And then you hear it. A single shot. And the sound of defeat the combat vest does when someone is hit. How did you even... You hear a shushing sound in Max stops mid-sentence. You hear a second shot, followed by Nick swearing. Silence falls again. You fall back. As you're backing off, you see Charles sneak around a corner. You make your way around and get sight of him. You aim your rifle to shoot him. Just as you're about to pull the trigger, you feel something poke you back, and then a whisper in your ear. Shh, quiet. Stay silent or you're first. You freeze. You notice the commander raise his rifle above your shoulder. You can feel his arms around you. You watch in silence. He takes a shot, and Charles' vest goes dark, starting the respawn sequence. Now then. You're not going to go out without a fight. You plan your actions in your head. Duck down, then turn around before he can react. Shoot him square in the chest. You'll do it in one quick sequence. What's next? Well, I win, of course. I wonder. You start your plan and duck down as fast as you can. It seems to be working. As you start to turn around, you realise this idea was better in your head than in reality. Continue turning around. You're ready to shoot the second you get a view of his vest. Problem being, you end up being closer than you had thought. You turn around for either you can react. He lets one hand go over his rifle and catches you as you fall into his chest. He lets out a grunt. You accidentally push your rifle into his stomach. That had to hurt. You feel time stop as he takes a step backwards to stabilise the two of you. One hand on his rifle and one hand on your shoulder. Are you alright? You can't help but feel like this is your line. Sorry. You say that, but this is your chance. All is fair in love and war, after all. He looks you in the eyes. You take aim. You can't but feel bad as he raises the hand holding the rifle in defeat. You win this one. Sorry. You shoot him square in the chest. He seems to have recovered and stretches his back out. Well, don't worry about it. Unless that wasn't an accident. He raises an eyebrow. Had a plan. That was not it. He pats you on the shoulder. He starts walking towards the respawn. You barely notice it until your vest goes dark. You can hear Max out a yell in victory. Look at the others have respawned. Mike chuckles softly as you fall in line next to him, walking towards the spawn area. You're not a bad shot. You stay silent. Although you should probably have teamed up when they asked you to. Probably. Then maybe I wouldn't have hurt you. I should apologise. Sorry. It is alright. I'm fine. It's alright because it's you. What does he mean by that? You surprised me a little. It's been thought for a second. If you don't mind me asking, what was the actual plan? He let out an exasperated sigh. The plan was simply turn around and hit you in one smooth motion. The problem was that I misjudged the distance. He chuckles softly. Looks like I'm the one at fault. He seemed to ponder for a second, as if deciding something important. I won't be going easy on you from now on. That was going easy? I can't but feel like I made a grave mistake. He laughs once more as you reach the respawn area. Time will tell. I'll give you a head start. As you're making your way back to the play area, your eyes catch John's. He gives you a knowing look and nods in a direction. As you look there, you see Max and Nick. John seems to be talking to them. Looks like they convinced them as well. Now, once all is said and done, the score is fairly even. You're better than they thought. That was fun. Intense, but fun. Everyone really let loose. There's a short break for your dinner in the final destination for the evening. Finish cleaning up faster than most of the others and take a seat at the table in the arcade while waiting. After a few minutes, you notice the commander making his way towards you. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Axel. Did you have as much fun as I did?
He smiles a broad smile that betrays just how much he enjoyed that. I had a lot of fun. If I didn't expect you to beat us all by that much. You're like a ninja in there.
Well, it's not to one like a shooting a combustion rifle.
A what?
There's a lot of things you don't know about your new colleagues yet.
He notices your confusion.
Well, a lightweight rifle, usually used for covert operations.
Is that the kind of rifle you usually practice with? He raises an eyebrow.
Well, someone told you about that. It's not one of my go-to weapons, but I tend to practice with a few different ones whenever I get the chance. If you'd like, I could show you how to aim properly sometime on the Firefly.
Can't help but think back to the moment he's aiming for Charles during the laser tag session. His arms around you as he took aim towards the tiger. Is he just showing off? Aside from that, it sounds like a good way to let off steam. And it could be fun. I like that. It's not something I get to learn back home.
In contrast to this, it's a little more serious. It's a good way to relax and clear your head for a bit.
He looks out the window into the sky, as if he's contemplating something.
Well, thanks for the suggestion. This was a lot of fun. Everyone really let loose. Sometimes it's easy to get too attached or focused on one thing. Troubles or something awkward that happened. Times like these really help me relax and get focused on what matters. Regardless of the likeness to what this simulates, it was light-hearted.
When you think about it, when the two of you were walking, you mentioned there had been a war. It would be pretty grim, running around shooting each other for fun then. Though we seemed to like he was having fun. Hard to compare it to something more real when it's so much fun.
Humans seem able to take inspiration from anything. It's motivating in a way.
You don't have laser tag back on Arctos.
No, there's training weapons that are similar, but they're for military training only. We should be able to do something like this on the Firefly.
In the recreational room?
Oh, it'd work. Usually I just set them up in the cargo space when I do target practice. There's more room, and since I usually do at night, it's also a bit more secluded.
At night? Does the commander have trouble sleeping? I can relate to that. Just lying there, unable to fall asleep. Something stuck on your mind. Past troubles. Or just the next video game. You're spaced out again. And again, he's just there waiting for you to finish your thoughts. Sounds relaxing to do it during the night.
One of many reasons. It's a date then?
You can't ever feel like you're blushing.
You hope you're not,
But it feels like it. I'm looking forward to it. The two of you continue the conversation until everyone else finishes cleaning up and catch up to you. There's small talk and eventually you all take yet another car. This time the car ride is a little longer. John even manages to take a nap during the car ride. Max whisks the commander away in discussion about laser tag tactics. He follows patiently and gives Max pointers. Charles seems to be engrossed in reading something on his phone. You mostly look out the window, listen to music and enjoy the ride. After a while you arrive at a small inn outside the city, right near a lake. By the looks of things there's no one else there tonight. John did mention he's reserved something. You mean the entire place? The car comes to a stop outside the inn. John runs you through the evening as you make your way inside the building. Well, everything's booked for tonight. There'll be a dinner served in a bit and there'll be a bartender serving drinks. As if on cue, a woman who can only assume was the waitress greets you and hands John a stack of key cards. The rooms are upstairs, all of them are a similar size. John hands everyone a card each. Looks like he got room number 1. The waitress proceeds to lead you into the inn where a large table is set. You all take seats around the table. Before you know it, there's good food and drink brought in. You'll end up a little tipsy, drinking during the course of dinner. Everyone seems to be discussing the museum and the laser tag. You can't help but feel a little embarrassed as you're complimented on your choice of activity. It feels awkward being thanked for something like that. When you think about it, there have been a lot of awkward moments like this recently. Both of them related to you being credited or being thanked. It's another self-esteem thing. Or are you just not used to it? Maybe it's the people around you. They're also kind and respectful. Maybe being in a spaceship with these people will be a pleasant experience, aside from everything else. You'll be going to space on a mission that sounds like it's from a movie. Be part of research into save the world. And still, the thing that currently has your attention, there'll be a fun break. There's pleasant people. Somewhere in the back of your mind, there's definitely some hesitation. Or after you go, you end up saying something stupid or doing something awkward. You've definitely felt like you've taken water over your head. Everyone keeps reassuring you. If you end up feeling like you're trapped and want to run, there'll probably be someone there to calm you down and reassure you. How comforting. Eventually everyone has finished with dinner. Almost everyone is split up and seem to be enjoying their evening alone or talking with someone. You could retire to your room already, but after that meal you still have some energy. You could go to talk to one of your new acquaintances, but who would you like to spend more time with? I'm just going to say here, Grunt, I have a save on my personal playthrough, so I am checking other things out as we go along here. But the purposes of this video and the series, and probably everyone's going to be shouting, "I knew it!" as we do this. We'll go with Mike. You decide to go see if the commander would like to spend some time with you. Last you remember, you saw him head outside. As you're about to exit the building, Charles makes his way over to you. He holds the door for you and exits the building behind you, grabbing his coat. On your way to talk to our sky-gazing commander? I was about to go chat with him for a bit, if you'd let me make you company. He looks at you asking your permission. That sounds good. Then let us go. He notices you looking around as you exit the building. And let's start looking by the lake. If I know Mike well enough, he's probably sitting somewhere by the water looking at the sky. Charles seems close to the commander. That would be a good time to ask about it. How did you end up knowing the commander? He contemplates things for a bit as you walk. Have you heard about the War of Aggression? The War of Aggression? The commander mentioned the war, but didn't seem eager to talk about it. Charles sighs. I apologize, Axel. I forget this is a different world sometimes. The War of Aggression was what one could compare to a world war. A few years back, Arctos was entering a new age of space travel. Of course, we want to explore the universe now that we had the option. His voice carries a hint of sorrow, not unlike the first time he told you about the Endless White. We ended up finding out that we are most definitely not alone in the universe. And in the end, our government caused what is now called the War of Aggression. The aggression coming from Arctos. You found other life and then attacked it. You can hear the disbelief in your own voice. Well, not us per se. What used to be a kind of world government for Arctos did. You look up and notice the commander sitting on the bench near the lake. His shame and blame still belongs to us, all the same. Our world was the one wanting to take what did not belong to us. Doing that war, I ended up in Mike's squad. To be honest, I hated him at first. None of his orders seemed to make sense, and I was all too aggressive. Eventually, I calmed down and understood what kept us alive. or what kept us winning. I'll have to ask Mike about the details, as I'm not sure that's my story to tell. As he says that, he notices him pat his shirt pocket as if he's making sure there's something there. It's actually a lot I don't know. You arrive at your destination as you finish your train of thought. That probably won't change anything. Our mission is different, right? We're saving, not attacking. Oh, without asking, I'm sure there's a million things I don't know about that would explain things. You see the commander raise an eyebrow. He must have just caught the end of the conversation. Sharp. It's a conversation for another day. Aside from that, you might find the history quite interesting.
The past should not be forgotten unless we repeat our mistakes. A price paid in sadness should not be paid twice. And so we remember our mistakes and bring them with us into the future.
Poetry at this hour, Mike? Mike puts his hand up and scratches the back of his head.
The night sky brings out solemn feelings. Inspirational ones. All I'm missing is some music.
He nods at you.
Did you enjoy the day, Axel?
You can tell the commander is a little tipsy, perhaps even drunk. Be honest, you are as well. I've had a lot of fun. Create a memory, right? He smiles. Something like that.
You're always one step ahead. Did you tell him why we decided to do this, Charles?
I didn't tell him all of it. I figured I'd leave that to you. I'll leave you two alone in a minute. Here, Mike. He reaches for his breast pocket and pulls out a flat bottle, paired with 2 small cups. He then hands it all to the commander.
Fire wine?
It's the last bottle, and I can't think of a proper time to give it to you. I don't expect you to drink it. I figured you'd appreciate the symbolism.
You're usually not this nostalgic. Thank you, my friend.
I'll leave you two to it. Good evening, Axel, Mike. Good evening, Charles. The two of you stay silent for a minute as the tiger makes his way back up towards the inn. The commander makes space here on the bench next to him.
Want to keep me company for a little bit?
To be honest, that's why I came down here. He raises an eyebrow.
I'm surprised you choose to spend your time with nostalgic old barrowkeeps looking at the sky on a night like this.
He smiles again.
Well, it's a pleasant surprise. I appreciate your company.
He inspects the bottle Charles gave him. I think you'd be one for drinking.
Well, it's a little strong compared to what I drink. The rare times I do. Charles is usually not this sentimental. After our first mission together, he gave me a bottle just like this.
The time I've known him, he's been pretty sentimental. Serious, but sentimental.
Maybe he's just getting old.
You can't help but let out a short laugh. How old is he anyway? Still hard for me to tell, to be honest. It's the commander's turn to laugh.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Oh, I think he's in his mid-30s.
When I met him, he's almost fresh out of his studies.
You can't help but wonder how old the commander is. It'd be a lie to say you weren't interested in him. To what degree it remains to be seen. But still. He breaks your train of thought with a statement of his own.
Like you figured, today was about creating a memory, Axel. You make something worth remembering, so a proper goodbye to this world for most of us.
I've had a good time. Something plastic about it. You've also managed to hit the commander in the stomach during laser tag. Do you really want to remember that? Thinking about it. It's not a bad memory. Had fun and it led to getting to learn something new about him. Even mistakes build relationships. Thinking about it, you've been pretty sentimental recently as well. Perhaps it's because you're a little tipsy, or maybe it's because you feel comfortable in the company you're in. But you can't help but feel like tonight's a night to not really care about holding back. Maybe it's time to just speak my mind, if my thoughts seem awkward. You've been feeling pretty sentimental recently as well. I think revisiting today sometime in the future will be interesting. To see the differences.
Knowing you'll be going away for a while evokes that feeling, doesn't it?
He looks you in the eye.
These times make me reflect on how I view bad times and strive to move forward. Time's but a string that grows longer as it exists. Think what has happened is a mark on that string. As it grows, that which has happened will be behind that piece of the string which is the present. As the string grows longer, that mark becomes a smaller part of the string. It's about perspective. The bad times pass and fade. Remember the good ones instead.
He finishes and stays silent for a second.
Cheesy it might seem, it's hard to think about perspective. As long as you notice the broader picture, the struggles of the moment seem smaller.
He sighs.
Hopelessly romantic. Well, that's part of me.
Thinking about it, I'm also a hopeless romantic. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have been able to keep hope up at times. He's sharing a part of himself here. I like it. As long as you know there's another perspective, you can bear most things. You can't but feel like you can share something about yourself as well. After all, he opened the door. Besides, I'm a hopeless romantic myself.
That makes two of us.
He brings out the 2 cups and the bottle Charles brought. He places the cups on a small table next to the bench.
Would you like to taste some Arktos fire wine?
Your mind flashes back to us for a second, your conversation with Charles during lunch. Best cure to a broken heart is a stiff drink and good conversation. Here it is by the look of things. With your new motto, you might as well roll with it. Sure.
Awkward response, the commander doesn't seem to mind, and fills the 2 cups with a clear liquid. I rarely drink, but tonight is special. I just like the idea of drinking away your sorrows. I like the idea of celebrating something new.
He hands you one of the cups and raises his own for a toast.
To hopeless romantics and making a good memory.
You touch your cup to his and then bring the cup to your mouth. It tastes smooth, not like any alcohol you're used to. You can't but wonder if this is going to have an effect on you at all. I've really had my perspective change these last few days. I don't really want to have that part of the string get smaller, so to say.
There's 2 sides to every coin, for better or for worse. I like to believe that we pick what we remember fondly, despite being aware of it or not. And there's more good memories than bad ones, and screw perspective.
Perspective is what changes it, eh? With new perspective, the problems I've had recently all seem so distant and small. There's a lot of truth in that view. He puts his arm around you as you sit on the bench. He's definitely getting drunk. And so are you. The fire wine is having an immediate effect. You can almost imagine yourself thinking back on this in the morning. Hopefully not hungover. Thinking about how you let go of some of your inhibitions. You can't help but lean into him as he has his arm around you. I'm really excited to go to space. Kind of leaving the world behind into a new adventure. Even if I know I'll be back home eventually.
You're excited for a new start, or to leave things behind?
Probably both, to be honest. 2 sides to every coin, was it? Speaking of memories and new starts, I'd like to remember this. This is nice.
It is. If I could filter out my bad memories like that, I'd replace them all with this.
I feel like you should stop yourself from asking, but you ask anyway. Do you have a lot of memories like that? Damn alcohol. It's a stupid question. I already know the answer. His eyes betray it. Fuck, why did I ask that? He's not asking you uncomfortable questions even if drunk, and here you are just going for the low blows. You begin to formulate an apology in your head. Before you can get it out, he speaks.
Too many. The quote holds true. There's 2 sides to every coin. When people call you a hero, it just means you're the villain of someone else's story. The continuation of that line, there's two sides to every coin, is this. A victory won in a war is just an atrocity paid for in the blood of the side that lost. I have a lot of bad memories. I just hope that eventually they'll be part of a long string of good ones. You hear him say something under his breath. Almost sounds like he's swearing. And he sighs. When I look at you, I forget about that for a moment. You're optimistic, and if you don't feel it yourself yet, you'll end up being someone's hero. And you're no villain.
I don't know what to say. Silence falls for a moment. But I'm also a hopeless romantic after all. Isn't that similar to why you struggle?
What do you mean?
No matter who you are or what you've done, if you feel bad about it, or if you struggle, it's because you're looking for something greater. Something better or something kinder. You feel sad or stuck because you want something better. It's also why there's no reason to give up when things get rough. I'm not even sure yourself where this bout of poetry is coming from. I can't say I dislike it.
Thanks for the comforting words.
He hugged you with the arm that's already around you. Even though you probably knew, you never thought the commander was this sad on the inside. Maybe that's why he always looks at the sky. The freedom and to forget. It's better than drinking. Not that you can say anything about that tonight. And the question pops up in your head. And your inhibitions are so far gone you don't even try to stop it. All that pain, what made you stick with the military?
I think a layer of sadness.
Okay, that's sad.
Not mine.
The world's.
There's a lot of pain in the world. Once you notice it, you can't really stop it. Everyone has their sadness and their pains that they carry with them. It makes me feel like I want to give everyone a hug all at once. And just keep them safe. For everyone to feel good and safe, and not have to worry all the time. So I'm sticking with the next best thing when it comes to keeping people safe.
I can't help but feel like a teacher could do the same.
Maybe I'm a hypocrite. If I'm to be completely honest with myself, I don't want people to get close.
If any doubts that the bear was anything but drunk, they're gone. This is far too honest and open.
Oh, I said too much. Sorry, I didn't mean to get drunk and bring down the mood.
That's alright. I'd like to listen if you'll share. He sighs, but at the same time pulls you closer. He's warm and pleasant, compared to the cold night air around you. I've asked too much. Sorry.
Don't be. Sometimes I think I don't reflect enough. And drunk or not, I got to hug you.
He smiles a wide smile. You feel regret as soon as the words leave your mouth. You can't help it. You also make a mental note to never drink fire wine again. Why do you not want people to get close to you? Silence falls for a minute. And then he speaks.
I guess I just don't want them to break the illusion of who I am. I'm supposed to be a strong leader. Flawless and fighting for safety. I'm not really supposed to be sad and show weakness. I'll get so drunk I spill my secret sitting on the bench next to someone I care about on a winter night.
Makes you more human. He raises an eyebrow. I guess that's a bad choice of words.
Being human doesn't sound wrong.
You keep yourself from asking more and give him a proper hug. He hugs you back. It's getting late. I want to go inside.
A gentleman first.
He stands up and bows. As you stand up and start walking, you have to stop once or twice. You're too drunk. Damn fire wine. The commander notices and stops. Puts his arm around you and keeps you steady. At first, neither of you say anything as you start making your way back to the inn. This evening was not what you'd expected. It's definitely not bad.
What's it like? Think about leaving your home behind and heading to the great unknown. There's always that feeling of insecurity, isn't there?
I don't really have too much hold of me here. I have my colleagues, but to be honest, I haven't known them for all that long. They're my best friends and I love them. But that's it. Never mind. I haven't said it out loud. I do love them and I will miss them. But for some reason I'm more excited about this all. Saving a world, going to space, learn about Arctos, everything.
It's quite the adventure when you put it like that.
Both of you fall silent for a minute. It's like a new start. At one point life really hit me in the balls.
He chuckles at the likeness. His mind probably went back to what happened earlier today.
You can't help but smile. In perspective, it was never that bad, if it seemed like the end of the world at that time. My proverbial string of time. I think I like the mark I'm making now.
I'll help you make it a good one.
The rest of the night is fun. You get to know everyone a little better. Familiarity breeds comfort. Knowing everyone a little better makes you relax a little more. They're not very different from anyone else, you know. Turns out when you get to know most people, everyone's fairly similar at the core, despite the experiences that shape us. After a while, it's time to call it a night, and you retire to your room. It takes a little bit for you to fall asleep. It's like the excitement of the day has to catch up to you first, before your brain can rest properly. Eventually, your tiredness catches up with you and you fall asleep.
You seem tired.
He pulls you closer.
A long day?
He pauses for a second, as if for you to respond. After a little bit, he continues as if you had.
I've had a long day as well. I hope your day was good.
It was. I met a lot of good people and got to know them better today. Not that they can hear you say, or rather think that.
I'm glad. Somehow I can tell you needed that.
He heard you? That's new. Not like the other dreams you've had. You want to ask how his day was. Once again, it feels like your thought echoes out into nothingness. And somehow, you can tell how exhausted he is. You can't help but wonder if this is what he's mentioned before. How he feels what you feel somehow. You hug him tightly. Supporting the people you care for is best done as a two-way street after all. One thing is for sure, no matter who he is, it seems he cares. He sighs deeply.
It feels like we're both going on an adventure.
Although, perhaps of different kinds. He's right.
Well, I like these breaks I get with you. They help me recharge.
Despite how comfortable this is, there's still a question gnawing at the back of your mind. Who are you? As he responds, you can't hear anything. You feel colder and lonely. It's a strange feeling compared to the closeness you just felt. That's the end of chapter 2. And that's where we're going to leave Distant Travels for now. But of course we'll continue on with it in the not too distant future. And at the end you have played there's a little mini game in there which I decided to skip over since it's a lot of just noises of me trying to play the game. So it's not that fun to watch, but it's definitely fun to play, I can tell you that. So if you do get Distant Travels, and you should, you can play the other routes as well. You can play the mini game then, but I decided to just skip that bit for now. Coming up next on the channel, we have another short May Wolf Jam video, which will be April Showers. That will be in the middle of the week, and that will probably wrap up the May Wolf Jam series. And then next weekend, we return to Frostfang. And we're back in Nevin and seeing what's going on with Eric there. But before we go, as always, I want to say thank you to all my donors on Ko-fi and Patreon. You're all very much appreciated. And to give a quick mention, as always, to my top donors on Patreon: Kartek, Kobus Visser, Lexi Bucciarati, Bastian, Brian Hall, Tiger Cub, Ada Corval, Anubis Silverwind, Dissonance, Grizz, Spiderling, Kopi, Sindri Dragowolf, Evan King, Exac, Aaron Fox, Mohammed Al-Zamel, Bieka, Alvis Mouse Productions, Uwe Starburn, Omar, Smutu, and Andy Peng. Thanks to all them, and thanks to you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, bye for now.